On July 20th, 2023, this startling call came into dispatch.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, I am calling because I work at a group home with the adults that have autism, and one of the boys is missing.
And you said one of the boys has gone missing?
Yes.
This is the Miracle Files. I'm Emily Jones.
And I'm Holly Worthington. We're two sisters who love a captivating true story, but we're also seeking more light in our lives.
So we're on a mission to find and share unforgettable, uplifting stories of God's miracles. We hope you'll join us on this journey. Welcome back to the Miracle Files. I'm so glad that it's finally spring and the sun is shining outside.
Yeah, it's been wonderful here. It's been so sunny and beautiful, and I've gotten to play a lot of pickleball and some golf. And
yes, I love that we get to go golfing again. We actually both love to golf, and I've only been a few times, but it has been glorious.
This year.
This year.
She's been
to
many
clarify.
times.
A few times since the snow melted. Yes. Well, anyway, let's talk about today's story.
Okay.
So today's episode is quite different from our other stories, but we want to keep you guessing as much as possible. And I think this episode will do that.
I feel like this story has so many amazing takeaways from it. And if you do have someone in your life who has autism, this is one where you might just want to hug that person a little tighter after listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into it.
Upon first glance, with his blonde hair and scruffy face, Jarrett Lyon looked like a typical 23-year-old man. However, looks can be deceiving. Jarrett was far from ordinary. He was a man with nonverbal autism, and his life was about to take a dark and mysterious turn. Jarrett relied on his daily routine to navigate his world. Every day, he and other adults with developmental disabilities would be picked up by a day program to engage in various activities around the city, such as going to parks, libraries, theaters, and other public places. In the evenings, he would return to his group home where he lived with other intellectually disabled adults and care professionals. Upon arriving home, he would follow a set pattern of dropping off his belongings and retreating to his bedroom to immerse himself in his favorite app featuring the Sesame Street character Elmo. But one fateful day, everything changed, and Jarrett's routine was shattered. It was a scorching hot day on July 20th, 2023. Jarrett's parents, Kara and Blair Lyon, were getting ready for a wedding reception when they received a distressing phone call from a staff member at Jarrett's group home. Here's Jarrett's mom, Kara.
She said something weird is going on over at the house. Jarrett's not there. And his day program said they dropped him off, and the staff at the group home are saying he never arrived.
Questions immediately flooded the Lyons' minds. Jarrett had never made it home? Where could he be? Had he just wandered off? Panic began to set in as Kara and Blair rushed to the group home. While Jarrett looked like a full-grown man, with his disabilities, it was as if a 3-year-old were lost somewhere in a large city, alone, at risk, and likely afraid.
By the time we got there, there was a police officer at the front door taking a statement about Jarrett's appearance and stats, height, weight, eye color, a general description, also his routines if he had a phone. I don't think the police fully grasped the amount of disability our son has. One of the police officers said something like, well, he probably just got a ride with his friends and went to the park or something. Well, first of all, our son doesn't have any friends. And secondly, he's nonverbal. And thirdly, he's not really capable of understanding like hitching a ride with someone. He would just maybe open a random stranger's door and get in their car because he's so used to so many different staff taking him places, but he doesn't understand deliberately getting a ride to somewhere with someone and being able to communicate he wanted to go somewhere.
Jarrett had spent the day with a young woman, one of the staff members from his day program. We'll call this young woman Lucy to protect her privacy. When asked by the police, Lucy reported that she had dropped Jarrett off around 3:30 p.m. and hadn't seen him since. That meant Jarrett had to be somewhere close by. But where? No one at the group home had seen Jarrett enter it. Clearly, something had happened to interrupt Jarrett's normal routine. His belongings were nowhere to be seen, including his backpack and shoes. It was as if Jarrett had just vanished into thin air, leaving his parents and the staff at the group home bewildered and desperate for answers. When the Lyons didn't show up at the wedding reception they'd been planning to attend, word spread quickly that something was wrong. Jarrett's older brother, Trayson, was already at the reception as it was his brother-in-law's wedding, but he immediately left to help lead the search as soon as he received the news.
And people would start showing up from the reception to help look or say, we just learned about Jarrett. We're going to pray right now. Or we went off to a room and said a prayer as soon as we found out. And his group home people loaded up their clients in their vans and were out searching with more special needs people in their vans, all searching for Jarrett as much as they could. I mean, everyone in that company showed up, the CEO on down. Everyone was out searching.
Like a domino effect, people began spreading the word of Jarrett's disappearance through social media and neighborhood alerts. The Lyons prayed for Jarrett's safe return, while a growing army of volunteers joined the effort to find him. As night fell, hope began to dwindle, and Kara and Blair found themselves consumed by worry. They couldn't bear the thought of their son out there alone, vulnerable to the dangers of the night. They worried he could wander into the street and get hit by a car or fall into the river. Kara found herself driving through dark, empty streets, calling out Jarrett's name, desperately hoping to catch a glimpse of him. The police received several false leads. Even a search with the police dog was inconclusive. Around midnight, a woman called into the station and said she'd seen Jarrett on her home security camera, but according to the search perimeter, the camera was located too far away in an entirely wrong area. The video recording also took place too early in the day, before Jarrett was dropped off at the group home. At 3 a.m., Kara continued to drive through the streets of the city. And then she saw someone walking along the road. As she neared the man, her heart sank. It wasn't Jarrett. But as Kara drove past, a thought hit her that struck deep into her heart.
There was a individual, probably with mental illness, who was out on the street, and I thought, do we even see these people who are different? Do we really look at them? Or is it just more comfortable for us not to see them, not really look at them?
Throughout the night, Kara and Blair's minds were plagued with excruciating thoughts of what could be happening to their son. Unable to find solace in sleep, they imagined the worst scenarios. What if someone had kidnapped him and was abusing him? What if he was injured? They were certain, no matter the circumstances, he must be feeling terrified and alone. With the break of dawn, the search resumed, centered around Jarrett's last presumed location, the group home where Lucy had said she dropped him off. Hundreds of people from communities near and far gathered at a local church, turning it into a command center and staging area for their efforts. After going door to door, checking cameras, and searching anywhere they could think of, no one could find any trace of Jarrett. And then, a breakthrough occurred. Back at the church, a woman emerged from the crowd, holding out her phone with a video on the screen. She introduced herself as Angela and was the same woman who had called the police at midnight. Here is her explanation about what happened.
When I first got to the pavilion, There was a lot of commotion going on. Everyone was working really hard to get information. I kind of stood there for a while because I was like confused at who to talk to. But then I noticed one lady taking control. So I took it to her and I said, I may have a video. It might be the same person. She was kind of busy talking with other people. So she said, hold on a minute, I'll get back to you, you know. And then she got back to me and I showed them the video and she looked at it and she just screamed and she said, this is him, this is Jarrett.
This was Jarrett? Kara and Blair were thrilled and confused. How could Jarrett have gotten so far away from the group home? And where was he now? As the mystery deepened, the search focused on the west side of town, and hours passed. And then, back at the church, the manager of the group home received a call saying someone had found Jarrett. The Lyons held their breath as the group home manager explained to them what was happening. Amazingly, Lucy, Jarrett's day program worker, had found Jarrett. The Lyons couldn't believe it. Lucy had called her own manager, who was driving Jarrett to the staging area right now. Kara's heart filled with hope as she waited for Jarrett to arrive. She and Blair called everyone to gather near the church's pavilion and announced that Jarrett had been found. As an excited buzz spread through the crowd, people gathered around the Lyons. Kara knew that all of the excitement would be overwhelming for Jarrett. She turned to the crowd and asked them to all be silent for Jarrett's return. She explained that because of his autism, he needed less stimuli, and she had no idea in what condition her son would be returning. The day program manager's car arrived at the staging area, and slowly, Jarrett emerged from the vehicle. He was dehydrated and sunburned. He was shirtless and shoeless. He only had on his pull-up and shorts. His backpack was gone. He was definitely in shock, but he was alive, and he was there, and Kara and Blair immediately began thanking God for his miraculous return. The Lyons rushed to Jarrett, and each of them took him by his arms and walked him to the pavilion. What followed can only be described by Kara as a sacred experience.
Everybody, as he got out of the car, it was a total hush. It was more quiet than I could have believed that many people could be. It was totally quiet, and I also asked people to document it because I knew I wouldn't be in a state to remember what was happening, and I wanted to remember what it was like to have him back.
As relief and joy sank in, Kara and Blair began to ask questions. How had Lucy found Jarrett? The timestamp on the video was before Lucy said she dropped Jarrett off at the group home. How could that be? And why had he been so far away? And wasn't it kind of strange that the very person who said she dropped him off happened to be the one who found him? The police had the same questions, and when Lucy was pressed for answers, a dark truth began to be revealed. Slowly, the realization dawned on Kara and Blair that they and their hundreds of volunteers had been searching in the wrong area all along due to a terrible lie. In fact, Lucy had never dropped Jarrett off at the group home. It turns out that Lucy lived in the area where Jarrett had been seen on the security camera, and apparently she had taken him to her house for lunch, against protocol, and had lost Jarrett. Lucy gave no explanation as to what had happened to Jarrett while he was missing, or how she had suddenly found him. Despite their shock and horror, Kara and Blair were also filled with incredible gratitude. Even while everyone was looking in the wrong area due to Lucy's deception, the Lyons had been surrounded by people who were supporting them and praying on Jarrett's behalf. And because of that, word had spread clear to the other side of town, where Angela, a total stranger, had captured Jarrett on her camera. Not all angels are in heaven, and Angela was definitely an earthly angel. She had already done her civic duty by calling the police. But when the police wouldn't listen to her the night before, she didn't give up. That next morning, Angela drove across the city to show her video to Jarrett's parents. Angela's own story is a miracle in and of itself. She'd been eating a late lunch at her dining table, which was unusual for her. Her dog only barks at other dogs, but for some reason, it barked when Jarrett walked past. Angela looked out the window and noticed a young man who seemed to have motor skill difficulties. Something didn't feel right, but she couldn't put her finger on it, so she went on with her day. And then that night, Angela set her TV to record a 10 o'clock news story about her neighbor. When she returned from a late dinner with her husband, Angela watched the news story, and the following segment highlighted a description of a missing autistic man. She thought it sounded like the young man she'd seen earlier that day and called the police. Unfortunately, the police didn't follow up with her, but the next morning she got on Facebook and saw a friend mention that Jarrett was missing. This compelled Angela to take her video and drive to the church. So many things led up to the miracle of Jarrett's return.
As I look back on everything, it was amazing. The small little things, like I usually don't eat a late lunch. My dog barked, which she usually doesn't when people walk by. I had set my TV to record, and also the gal that posted on Facebook that morning. I don't know why I got on Facebook that early in the morning. I would have never known any of this if it had not been small little miracles that had happened along the way. I think we all need to be more aware of the simple things in life. By those small and simple things, miracles do happen. And I'm happy for that family that their miracle happened for them.
I think there were so many pieces of miracles that led up to the biggest miracle of having our son returned to us. The miracle of having so many people come, having so many people pray, so many people care. The caring was such a tender mercy. But I think there's so much bad in the world, and I think so many of us think, why bother? So many people bothered to spend time, effort, and prayers and tears and showed up for us in whatever capacity they could, whether it was prayers or bottled water or walking through the heat, all the different ways. I felt like over and over again that prayers of all those people literally made that miracle happen. Like there was no way God could deny the pleading of that many people. It was so miraculous to see.
Lucy, the day program worker, was eventually charged by the State Attorney General's office, and on March 1st of 2024 was convicted and sentenced with a Class A misdemeanor for criminal negligence of an endangered adult. She took a plea deal, admitting guilt in her treatment of Jarrett. Kara and Blair are working on forgiving her. To this day, the Lyons don't know what Jarrett endured while he was missing. It is a mystery that they probably won't ever solve. It's clear that he still has PTSD, and his family is working to help him heal, which isn't easy when he can't talk about what he went through. Kara and Blair have also embarked on a mission to raise awareness and prevent similar incidents from happening to other autistic individuals. Their Facebook page, Jarrett's Miracle Story, has become a platform to share valuable resources and support for parents of autistic children. The Lyon family's journey is a testament to the power of community, prayer, and the unyielding hope that can overcome even the darkest of circumstances.
Okay, Emily, your thoughts?
Some people may look at this story and just say, oh, well, they would have found him either way. But we don't know what would have happened to Jarrett if Angela hadn't noticed him. And it's so interesting to me that he was walking down the street and she was the only one that called.
Yeah, the only one.
And the real clear miracle for me is that Angela had a friend who had a story on the news that night. Otherwise, she would not have recorded the news and she would have never seen the segment about Jarrett.
Well, and she said that she never checks Facebook that early in the morning either.
All the little things that God did to make sure that she noticed. And we actually have the 911 call that we thought would be really interesting to share with you from when Angela called the police. So we're going to play that for you.
Police and Fire Dispatch, how can we help you?
I was just watching tonight's news, and they were talking about an autistic young man that's been missing.
Right.
This afternoon, I saw a young man walking down my street, and he looked like he had some cognitive problems. And I didn't think much about it until I just saw this. And I've checked my Xfinity camera, and I have him on my camera. And I don't know if it's the same young man you're looking for.
Okay, and what time would it have been?
2:21 this afternoon. My camera picked it up. He's wearing shorts, white socks, and he has a backpack.
Okay, I've got this added to the case. If they have any questions, they'll contact you from a blocked or unknown phone number.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
It's kind of crazy to hear that call because they probably didn't take her seriously at all because they knew that her video was too early in the day. It was before he was supposed to be dropped off.
And it was in the wrong place, too. I mean, without Angela's call, Lucy might have gotten away with it.
Yeah.
This was the smoking gun, you know? This is what pointed everyone to Lucy's neighborhood and forced her hand.
Can you imagine, though, that moment when they realized that they'd been looking in the wrong area the whole time because of a lie?
I cannot imagine going through that.
No.
And knowing that they trusted her with something so precious to them, and she betrayed their trust.
Lucy, 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 what were you thinking, girl?
I know. I mean, it's just shocking, maddening, and yet I also feel really sorry for her.
I do too, because she made a really big mistake. And I don't know if it was out of fear of getting caught, of getting into trouble, or if there might have been something more devious there. We don't know.
And we're not saying she's a bad person. We don't know her.
No, we don't.
And everyone deserves a second chance.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we did not use her real name. We did not mention the city that they lived in. Because we do believe people deserve a second chance.
Yeah, we don't want people hunting her down and sending her hate mail. No,
hopefully Lucy has learned from this.
I hope so.
One other thing I wanted to talk about was, at least for me, when Kara was driving through the streets late at night and she saw that man walking down the road and she said, do we even see people with disabilities, people who have mental illness, homeless people? And it hit me so hard because I thought a lot of times I do just drive down the street and I don't see those people sometimes.
And sometimes it's like, just don't make eye contact. And
yeah. How many people drove past Jarrett and completely ignored him?
I know. Thank goodness for Angela, who took notice and did something about it.
Mm-hmm. She really was an angel to that family.
Mm-hmm.
Kara and Blair wanted to share a couple of programs that they have found that they think will help other parents if something like this were to happen to them.
The first program they wanted to share is called Project Safeguard. It's a program where if an endangered individual goes missing, you can get them registered, and it's designed so that multiple law enforcement agencies can work together and communicate together to more efficiently find that person.
There's also another program that has guidelines for people who find themselves in this type of crisis situation. So links for both of these can be found on the Jarrett's Miracle Story Facebook page.
We want to thank Kara and Blair, as well as Angela and Jarrett, for sharing this story with us. And we are so grateful that this story had a happy ending.
So grateful. And we pray for his healing and that he will be able to recover from this. Thank you for joining us. If you have a miracle to share, contact us at themiraclefiles.com or find us on Facebook.
We'll post new episodes on the first day of each month. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it and leave us a review.
Join us next time as we discover more of God's miracles. And don't forget to look for His light in your own lives.
If you'd like to support us on Patreon so we can produce more episodes like this, go to patreon.com/themiraclefiles. You'll get exclusive access to photos, videos, articles, and other content you won't find anywhere else. We'll also have live chats, and we'd love to interact with you there. Thank you so much for your support.